Five, four, three, two, one. We are live. Thank you, everyone, again so much for tuning into another awesome podcast episode here at Brian's Place. Today, you guys are in for a treat. Like, honestly, a real treat. We have an awesome featured guest today. He's my boss, director at work. He's a DJ known as DJ Boy Wonder. He's a USC doctoral graduate. He's a program director at Telecare's Muir Right Treatment Program in San Jose. And most of all, he has a heart after God. In the Bible, there's a place that says where Jesus said, "If you love me, feed my sheep." And I can personally tell you that with his awesome heart, today's guest continually feeds hope and inspiration, joy, and a second chance to many. Please welcome my brother and good friend, Dr. Marco Ybarra.
Thank you, Brian, for having me. Great introduction. Thanks for having me on. And yeah, excited.
Definitely. Thank you. Thank you again. I know we had been talking about this, so now it's a reality.
It's official. I'm on. Yeah, no, that's a great thing.
Yes, definitely. So you are a DJ. Where did your love for music come from?
I think my love for music, my original, like where I trace all my roots back, I really think it was my parents. My dad, Michael Ybarra, rest his soul, he was actually a musician. So he was actually a saxophone player. So back in the days before the DJs, there was what we call Battle of the Bands. So it wasn't Battle of the DJs, this was Battle of the Bands. So my dad came uh, playing like rock and roll. So again, Chuck Berry, like Little Richard, like all like the classic like rock and roll stuff. Like he was playing, and they would go out and battle the bands. And I think that love for music was part of the influence. I think initially, and if you haven't seen this before, please go watch American Graffiti. But that whole music era, that piece right there, really inspired me to really start loving music more. And then not only my dad, but my mom, my mom brought just something different. My mom was Motown,
Yeah,
James Brown.
yeah,
So again, that combination of like soul and funk and rock and roll, I just had a love for music. And then, family events, family parties, you'd always hear the rancheras and cumbias. So I got my Spanish influence from that. So
mhm,
again, just like an eclectic of music. But again, when you talk about music and you talk about like hip hop or R&B or any of the stuff that's out new, it all
mhm.
originated from back in the days.
Yeah,
It was sampled. So again, all the stuff you're hearing new now, it was
yeah,
sampled somewhere they found it along the line. So again, I think my love for music, that's where it first started.
mhm,
And then I would say like junior high, I said, man, I really love music. And so I think some of my, and I remember going to my first junior high dances, and I think some of those were seeing my first DJs in action. So again, I remember seeing an individual, his name is Jazzy Jim. And again, I just seemed like, wow, this is an amazing individual. Like he's playing. And the thing about me was, I was so used to seeing folks of color being DJs, but this was a white dude that was getting down, scratching and playing the hip hop.
yeah,
Wow, this is amazing. So again, like some of my first junior high dances were like, I think some of them where I started like, you know what, I really love this. Like, and again, I dance and stuff, but I was just more interested in hearing the music and how they would put it and adjust it and play it back and forth. I think once I got further into high school, that's where it was like decided for me, like, I want to be a DJ.
yeah.
So I remember, I would say my freshman year in high school, and I went to Mount Pleasant High School. So shout out to Mount Pleasant High School and all the old school DJ crews. But uh, a friend of mine, his name is Virgil Paez, and I give it up to the Paez brothers. But I remember going to my friend Virgil's house, and his brother was Valente Paez, and he had a DJ crew at the time called Midnight Sounds. But I remember going into uh, Valente's room. No one was allowed in there, but I went in there and finally saw my first set of turntables. And there's a thing about turntables and vinyl and new equipment that's that smell. And I
Mhm.
got to touch my first turntable, and from there I was hooked. Like, oh my gosh, like, and so from that moment on, like I started buying records. I went to a couple of, at first I was like a roadie, and I was carrying stuff in for them, and I was like, nah, like that's not me. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna be a DJ. I want to be a DJ. So I think for me that influence there. There was other groups like Nebulous Sound Productions. There was Turntable Wizards, Eugene McCullough, and TDC. And again, these are guys that I learned from just watching. And I'm always a good observer. But I did
Mhm.
get a lot of my skills from TDC. His name's Tony the Devastating Cutter. But he would battle like Hubert and Joe Cooley. And if you know who I'm talking about, you would
Yeah.
look up and you could see these battles. But first person that I see him took off his shoe and started scratching with it. Got a beer bottle, started scratching with it. Like, it's just very innovative stuff you'd never see, and that was our back in the days. That was our TikTok and YouTube and stuff. Like that's when you went to a house party or you went to like
Yeah.
a dance, like that's where the live stuff was. So again, capturing those moments like that really started the influences of me like becoming a DJ. So
Wow, that's awesome. So music is definitely in your DNA.
definitely in my DNA.
Definitely, and definitely some of those names you mentioned definitely sound familiar. I remember watching like CMC California Music Channel, and
So that's
back
where I
in the
got
day,
that was
Chewy.
another. So shout out to the Gomez brothers, Hugo and Chewy Gomez. But Chewy Gomez and Hugo, they gave me a really great start over at California Music Channel. So I was like part of their street team. We got to DJ.
Yeah,
I was part of their actual DJ crew. So before all that, they were called Little Man Productions, and so I was actually one of the DJs for them. But great group of guys, super down to earth, always down to help. And they're from South. I think they're from South San Francisco. So again, just the traveling. So San Jose, San Francisco, like really now starting to make my circles around the Bay Area.
Mhm.
Not just a San Jose DJ or someone from the 408, but someone who really encompassed like the Bay Area. But again, like shout out to CMC and Chewy Gomez for those opportunities. Um,
Yeah,
and then from there, I remember going and doing guest spots at Hot 97.7 back in the day. So I got to meet all those guys. And then once 97.7 shut down, everybody went to, it was Wild 107 at the time.
okay,
Uh, and so from Wild 107, it was 94.9. But like a lot of DJs there, just a lot of love, Jose Melendez, Rich Loxamana, DJ Please. Um, and I'm sure I'm forgetting a lot of people, but I just remember just being around them and just that musical love, and just getting on, having your set. So, I was a wild style DJ for about I think 2 years. So I was playing on the air, driving from San Jose to San Francisco on Fridays and Saturdays. And again, it's much easier for the DJs now because you just bring a laptop. I mean,
yeah,
back in the days, I was carrying around like 10 crates,
crates.
and those crates they easily weighed, 200, 100 pounds. So it's just
Yeah,
like, imagine DJs. And again, the rooms where we DJ'd at, at the station were super small. So just imagine each time someone went on, you'd have to take out like your 10 crates and they were just like massive. And again, you never knew what the other DJ was going to play.
hmm,
Instead of having a plethora of music like MP3s on your computer,
yeah,
to really select what records am I going to bring with me this week. What's the new jam I want to play. So again, just that was just amazing itself. So from 90, even before 94.9 though, my college days, I was actually doing a lot of the fraternity and sorority parties. So
okay, yeah,
DJing over at San Jose State, Santa Clara University, UC Davis, UC Berkeley, Sacramento State. So I mean, I traveled and I loved it because again, it's just a new opportunity to see other people, other
yeah,
DJs. So again, I played a lot of my college circuit was from like 97 all the way up to almost 2001. I was definitely playing in that area.
hmm,
Early
wow,
on, though, even before that, my high school, I got one of my big breaks though was let's say it was 1989. That's when I first started DJing. But when I first started DJing, I also got my first break, and I started DJing for Lowrider magazine. So shout out to LG Productions, Larry
Wow.
Gonzalez, for giving me an opportunity because I was 16, young, didn't know what I was doing, but I knew I the love for DJing and promoting and talking it up. So again, I was a main stage DJ for almost a decade, and I travel all over California to do those shows with Lowrider Magazine. So again, I got to meet a lot of old school folks like Ice Cube, Snoop Dogg, Mary Jane Girls,
Mm.
Zapp and Roger Troutman. So I met Roger Troutman before he passed away.
Yeah.
So again, the list goes on and on. But again, just the plethora of talent at the time, and just being there on the front of that, and then freestyle music was big. So I've had the opportunity not only to DJ but also hire because I was also a promoter. So Connie, Trinier, MC Shy
Mhm.
D, Johnny O, a lot of these artists, I was able to meet, hire, and again before I would just be playing their music, but I never thought that I'd actually be a promoter. There'd be a hiring them, flying them down, and doing shows for thousands of people.
Wow.
I just never imagined that. So again, a lot of that started back in my high school days. Um, so it goes on and on. But then I just started doing private events. I was in the club scene for a long time. Don't get me wrong. I love the club scene, but you kind of get tired of it. Over
Yeah.
time. You know what I mean? Showing up, drinking, waiting to get paid or not get paid.
Yeah.
Clubs back in the days, it was a challenge. Being competitive against other DJs, So again, the love for music was there, and again,
Mhm.
I went with the times, and then finally, I just started doing more of like private events,
Yeah.
and again, the great thing about my career, and this is a blessing, and this is God answering all the time, but I've never had to promote in like anywhere. Every event or gig I have is a self referral with someone that knows me or
Word of
someone
mouth.
word of
Yeah.
mouth, and I really like that because it keeps it. Um, for me, it's just family. It keeps it family. Like even though I might know you, you're a referral from somebody that knows me, and so again, it's just more personal. It's more on that
Yeah.
personal. I think like for those folks doing it and advertising on like wedding sites and like all the other things, I think that's great. But I was blessed just I didn't have to do that, and still to
Yeah.
this day, I don't have to do that. Like people know me, they'll get a hold of me on social media or my phone number has been the same for the last almost 20 years. So again, uh, just being consistent with that. But again, it's and again, I love entertaining people. I love people. I love seeing people get excited. I love making memories.
Mm.
When I do weddings or quinceañeras or even birthday parties, like there's just this. Though we're gonna remember that. They're gonna remember the good times. They're on the dance floor,
Yeah.
excited. So again, for me, it's always been about being an entertainer, but meeting their needs. Not me playing what I like, but playing what they like. Reading the crowd.
Yeah.
I think for a lot of DJs, that's the biggest struggle. Like reading your crowd and playing for the crowd and not yourself.
Wow. Yeah. Man, that's a blessing. You've definitely done a lot, and music in itself has definitely come a long way. I remember, making a mixtape and listening to the radio. Got to press those two buttons down and listen for the commercial because you don't want the commercial on the
Right.
mixtape. And
Gotta
just
pause it. Let me get my pause mixtape out. So yeah, no, again, everybody would do that. And then
yeah,
and again, I was around when, cassette tapes were still in, I still have cassette tapes.
uh,
And then part of my career was also being like the first one to start doing mixed CDs. Before anybody, I was able to get mixed CDs out and have them a silverback, which is what original CDs with artists would make. I had someone that actually would able to do that for me. So they played on every single device versus like the old CDs where it was like the back was blue and you didn't know if it was going to play on your set or not.
yeah,
I had
yeah,
an opportunity to do that. So, I mean, I had 4 or 5 mixes at Sam Goody's, at Eastridge, at Oak Ridge, like for a real long time. And that was just really inspiring for me. And then my mixes shipped out to Texas and Florida, and then they were bootleg, which is okay because uh, even though I didn't make any money off of that, what was great, it was my name was out everywhere, and they didn't change
yeah,
the DJ, they didn't change the intro, they didn't even change the cover. They left everything alone. So one of my mixes alone, I know easily probably sold close to 15,000 copies, or it was out
wow,
there 20,000. And at that time, that was pretty big considering like I really didn't have a distributor. It was just more of the mix and the way it sounded, And I did it.
Mhm.
For me, it was always about the power mixing, and power mixing, for those of you that don't know, is like when you let a mix or a track play for a minute and a half tops, and you're already mixing into the next one. Some people like that, but for me, and some people didn't, because people want to hear the whole song.
Yeah.
But I was in a place like, well, if you want to hear the whole song, then you just download the whole song. Then, if
Yeah.
that much. But for me, it was about making moves and having people move and having people go to the mix, and wanting to keep playing it over and over again because it just kept going. There was no stopping it. You didn't get bored of the original song.
Man, that's awesome. And even to this day, I believe, your presence and your skills are still being requested all around the Bay Area.
Which is, yeah. So again, that's been a blessing. I just recently, about I would say probably about 6 months, 7 months ago, just did a year over at Q102. So I was doing like the old school mixes on that station for a while. So I appreciate the love that I got there, as well. And so, yeah, and so tons of mixes done. I even have mixes that I haven't even released yet,
Mm.
which is okay. Um, so yeah.
That's awesome. Who would you say were some, and I'm sure you mentioned a few, but who would you say were some of your were some of the musical artists or DJs that you looked up to or that really helped inspired you to become a DJ?
Um, I think it was watching all the other DJs. Like I said, I think for me, DJ Jazzy Jim, DJ
Mhm.
Hassan, uh, there's a couple other DJs out there that I love their quick mixing, their scratching, their ability to kind of speak with the turntables.
Mhm.
But I think those influences like supported my growth and
Mhm.
getting me like, oh, I really want to do that. Um, and again, TDC, again, was someone that I actually, he taught me. I watched him. We go back and forth. He would, help me out. So again, those were my major influences for myself, um, at least for the DJ. As far as
Mhm.
artists go, I can't say an artist really like had me go one way or the other, but I can just say the artists I've met so far just like super down to earth. And again, I appreciate those artists for doing that.
Wow, that's awesome. And so you've not, I've noticed that when someone is real passionate about something, there's longevity connected to that. And with that being said, you've not only been a DJ for 33 years, but you've been a successful DJ. And as I mentioned, your amazing DJ skills are still being requested all around weddings, parties, events, quinceañeras, and all around the Bay for 33 years. So, like, how does that feel?
Um, Unbelievable. Uh, and again, I have to sit back and really count those blessings. And
Mhm.
I think the old me, and again, I would say as a DJ, I've had to recreate myself. I've
Mhm.
had to also recreate the type of individual I am because back in the days, I was used to the DJ battle days. So
Mhm.
back in the days, if you were a DJ, you battled at Overfelt High School. Every DJ, there was somebody in San Jose, even like outside of San Jose, like you went to Overfelt for the battle of the DJs they had there. And so
Yeah.
during that time, I was at Battle of the DJs. I was in a group called Bass Syndicate, and DJ David B was my partner at a time. But again, when you wanted to do that, you had to go DJ and you had to battle. And I think it's
Mhm.
that creation of being hungry for that. And again, I think at the time I always felt like I was in competition with other DJs because it's a real cutthroat industry.
Yeah.
But as I got older, I recreated myself to really think about like it's not doing me any good to not friend or other DJs. So I think for me, the big change was just supporting everybody that's in the business, supporting everyone
Mhm.
who loves music. Because one thing I learned, especially in the Bay Area, there's enough work to go around for everybody.
Yeah.
That's one. And the next thing is everybody loves a different style. You know what I mean? Like that's the other thing too, is as DJs, we get to create ourselves and create our sound. So
Mhm.
the great thing about me is I feel like I'm one of the most eclectic DJs. So if you need a if you need a hip hop DJ, I'm gonna do hip hop. If you need an old school DJ, I'm gonna do old school. If you need a house DJ, I'm
Yeah.
gonna pull out my house music. So again, I've never been limited. I've never limited myself to say I'm only this type of DJ. I
Mhm.
really feel like I've really created like me being like all purpose, all around DJ for any event at any time, based on the crowd. So again, it's always looking at recreating yourself and
Mhm.
looking at how you can get better and understanding more so that you shouldn't be in competition with others, but you should be in competition with yourself.
Yes, that's so true. I like that. When you mention the idea of recreating yourself, it makes me think of legendary groups such as the Isley Brothers or Earth, Wind, and Fire, who decades later are still like making a difference.
Totally making a difference. And again, that music is like forever. Like you can go to any event, you're gonna hear an Earth, Wind, or Fire song. You're gonna hear possibly an Isley Brothers song. But again, it's that longevity that you have to think about. How do I last this long? How do I keep recreating myself?
Mhm. So awesome is that you're not only a DJ, but you went on to obtain your doctorate degree from USC, and you are currently the program director at one of the most awesome substance abuse residential treatment programs at Telecare's Mirror Right facility right here in the heart of San Jose. Would you mind sharing like what fueled and birthed your passion to help those dealing with substance abuse?
Yeah. So I'm gonna go back to high school. I'm gonna share an experience with you that really created my grounding and for me what I wanted to do. And so and what I didn't know is my both my parents were pretty active in the community. Like my dad was part of the GI Forum. He was always active, really trying to help the community. My mom was a Brown Beret. She was part of Mecha, and really
Mm,
like marched with Cesar Chavez and really the rights for not only people of color but Mexicans, Latinos, uh, African Americans, everybody that was struggling at the time during the late 60s, my mom and dad were part of that in some type of way. So I didn't really know that about that. And again, I just
mm,
think it came out to like, oh my gosh. And I bring this back to high school because I remember my senior year, and I went to Mount Pleasant High School, but I remember my senior year, like I was always in honors courses. I didn't get A's. I wasn't that student. I was a social butterfly. So again, like I was runner up for like biggest flirt. I was runner up for like class clown. Like I enjoyed socializing, and I knew the work was there. But gosh,
yeah.
being in high school, I just remember like I wanted to have fun
Mhm.
and learn at the same time. So being in honors courses, even though I didn't get like A's or anything like that, I was still decent, B, C
Yeah.
student. Um, and what was real for me at that time was I remember all of my other peers, not all of them, but most of them getting called to the counselor's office. Like, and I, hey, you got in trouble? Like, nah, you're not in trouble. And what they were doing was our counselors were meeting with them to help them support them on to college. What's your plan and stuff? And I
Mhm.
remember for me never getting called to, and I was just like, what's going on? Like, uh, and again, I look at it as a place where I can actually point a picture of, looking at all my Asian peers getting called, all my white peers getting called. You know what I mean? But I
Mhm.
didn't see very many people of color getting called in the counselor's office to talk about college. And for me,
Mhm.
what I did was I decided to apply myself, and I supported others in the similar boat without a plan. Like, hey, let me help you apply. This is what we're doing. And so I
Mhm.
did get accepted to like San Jose State University. But again, no one told me about financial aid. Like, oh my God, I can't get this loan. So I ended up at Evergreen College. Um, and what I realized though in high school was that discrimination and racism was real. And I understood that more then, and it just gave me that drive to like, this can't be.
Yeah.
Like this is such an injustice. I can't believe this is really happening. So for me, I think that was my birth of when I decided, like, you know what, I want to help people.
Mhm.
And for me, it was being the social worker, it was being a therapist, and so I think that all came together. And so again, I got to, I was at Evergreen. I was learning more about me, and I think that's what a lot of people don't do is take time to learn about themselves.
Hmm.
Um, and so for me, I think Evergreen. I was in the Elasta program. I was the vice president for the Elasta Student Association. Um, and again, that was just really my foundation that grounded me to know that one, there are other like-minded individuals like me, but this is happening everywhere. This
Yeah.
discrimination, this racism, and again, it's not talked about, and that's okay. But I'll bring it up because it should be talked about. And it's funny that when I went there, now 25 or so years later, now we're talking about it. I mean, it was, and
Yeah.
so I think for me that was the start of doing that. So in 1993, I got my first job in the field, and I remember that year so well because that was also the year my daughter was born. And so again, being a father, I had to make some decisions that I need a career, and DJing wasn't a career. DJing was great money, but it wasn't
Mhm.
a career. And so for me, I started off working at the unemployment office. It was on King Road, and I was working with peers between the ages of 18 to 24, helping them with find work, employment, housing,
Mhm.
basically all the resources that somebody, a student, somebody trying to find life were looking for. And I think for me, that was the birth of me wanting to be a social worker,
Hmm.
wanting to do good, wanting to have a voice for others that didn't have a voice, seeing the injustices and wanting to make change. And so again, I completed Evergreen. I went to San Jose State University, so I'm a Spartan as well. So I
Yeah.
got my bachelor's degree in behavioral science with a minor in social work, or sorry, minor in Chicano studies. And then I got into the master's program, and at that time, I was like, wow, I'm really doing it. So again, I got my master's degree from San Jose State University. Still one of the best, I feel like, social work programs because it really like put that that grounding for me that this is what I want to do and then follow that path. So
Mhm.
I emphasize in mental health, children and families, and then I got graduated, and then, like I said, I've been in the field since. And so, again, I've been in the field for gosh, almost 30 years. So since
Wow.
29 years, I've been in the field. So again, really supporting best social work practices, therapeutic alliances and stuff. So, and again, I've always worked for nonprofit organizations, always really related to San Jose, especially helping those out. And again, I work with youth programs. I work with gang intervention programs. So what I can tell you is that every every position I've had or every job I've had, there's always been an association or relationship with the criminal justice system. And if
Hmm.
you know the criminal justice system, many of our folks are underserved. They don't get their needs met. And what I did find quite interesting is most folks that needed help, someone in their family or themselves had an addiction problem or an addiction issue, but didn't know what to call it and were afraid to call it that, right? Because again, no one
Hmm.
wants to say you're an addict because I think again the stigma for addiction is we think about these folks that are homeless shooting up and stuff, and again that's not the only picture that we should have.
Yeah.
Um, Professionals are addicts, right? So again,
Yeah.
it always looks like it's the other side that of the track that these are the only addicts that I could think of, and that's so not true. So I think for me, um, it was that slow start. I did some time over working at Elmwood and main jail for Santa Clara County.
Hmm.
Um, and I think for me, it was talking to the folks in there, the custody clients in there, and them sharing their stories with me of the needs of needs unmet needs that they weren't getting. And that a lot of it was addiction treatment. A lot of it's mental health, and to this day, we still can't serve anybody that needs the help. It's so challenging to go find services and be consistent with those services because again, um, our folks out there in the community need more than we're offering now, and it's
Hmm.
it's hard to share that and then and for that to come into different programs. So after I did my time at the county, for a little bit, I noticed that I wasn't. They weren't going to allow me to grow. I had too many ideas. I was too innovative. I knew what needed to happen, and again, the county's so slow at moving into a direction, which is good to know. But then, I had a headhunter come out and find me, and told me like, "Hey, are you interested in a startup program that hasn't even been created yet?" And I was like, oh gosh, a startup program. And at the time, I was getting my doctorate, and I was actually my capstone project was looking at ways to figure out why individuals continue to recidivate back into this circle. And recidivism is one of the biggest issues that we see is that how do these people get out? So again, my capstone project was looking at creating a program to have people get out. So at the time at Elmwood, I was working with only the women's programs. So again, I was working the women's programs for special management, and they shared a lot of the women there. I had a lot of programs, and I had a lot of um, what you call it, kind of like when you get together and you ask them what do they need. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And we did a lot of that, and so what they shared with me supported me creating an all women's program. Um, when I got hired, though, what it was a men's program. So basically, I had to do a shift. And
Mhm.
the great thing about doing this shift was I was able to now not only create this women's program that's just still waiting to be created,
Yeah.
uh, it's ready to launch, but I was able to kind of do a men's program.
Yeah.
One of the things I found about the men um, is our men are really hurting. Our men are really holding on to a lot of trauma in their life that they're not allowed to let go or to share because again there's still this machismo that men have to not have feelings, they can't cry,
Yeah.
they shouldn't show feelings, and that's so wrong. And again, I'm glad we're in a different time where you can be sensitive,
Hmm.
you can cry, you can be compassionate, you can give another man a hug as a brother. And that's something I really tried to encompass creating the program over at Muriel Wright. Is we really created a brotherhood, a
Yeah.
milieu for others to feel safe, no matter where you came from. We don't have the jail politics. We don't have the street politics. That's not what we're about,
Hmm.
especially in creating folks that want a different opportunity or a new chance, or again, becoming a man of integrity. What does that look like? What does that feel like? And sharing that. And again, creating a team that also believes, and I think a team is only as good as their leader, or is only as good as the vision of the program.
Hmm.
I think with the vision of the program, it really set up all of our amazing team members that we have to continue that belief in that we can support these men at being better.
Wow. I like that. And I've talked to, heard testimonies from several of the clients and who've passed through there, and they've all said one common thing about you is that you care. And I've noticed that it's one thing to say you care, but it's another thing to show you care. I believe that, like the word love, care is also an action word, and you definitely live out the definition of the word care. So that's awesome testament to you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. And so you are you're a husband, you're a father, you're a DJ, you're director of an awesome growing program. You've been asked to speak at various events and functions. And so, like with all of that going on, how do you balance everything, and how do you find you time, because you have to make sure your cup stays full, because you can't pour from an empty cup. So with only 24 hours in each day, what's your secret?
um, I think for me, my longevity in both fields is finding a way, number one, to be balanced, but also making sure that I'm happy with what I'm doing. One of the things that I can share with you in all of my job opportunities, especially, is that if I got, and again, I'm not one to leave a program until I really feel like the program is set. Like, and again, what I mean by that is that um, my balance comes from making sure that I'm happy with what I'm doing.
Mhm.
My balance
Mhm.
comes from also making sure that others that love me know that my time is balanced out. So for me, I think for me, especially being a husband and being a father, it's a lot of communication. It's a lot of communication so that I do get balanced, and I make sure that I'm not overwhelmed. But again, it's something you had to learn.
Mhm.
And again, so I've had 30 years to perfect this balance of life. But again, this balance of life takes work. And again, so that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Like, I never stopped working on myself. I never stopped working on who I am as an individual. And I really take the time and opportunity to look back and see some of the choices and maybe decisions that I could have done differently, um, and accepting that and being
Wow.
accountable
Yeah.
for that. And so again, I'm at a place now where everything I do, if it doesn't give me that fulfillment of supporting others or that fulfillment of being happy, then I'm looking for another opportunity. And that's one of the things I think a lot of people stay stagnant. I think they stay comfortable. And again, being a man of faith, God never said to wait around.
Yeah.
Again, God is waiting for you to work so He can work with you. He's
Yeah.
walking with you, but again, He's not going to carry you all the time. He's not going to sit there and wait for you to make things happen. And so that's one of the things that I've learned in not only my relationship with God, but just my relationship with others is that you have to keep moving. I mean, you have to keep wanting something different for yourself. And again, different doesn't always mean it's good or bad. Different means that you just don't get bored with life. And as a former addict myself, that's one of the things that I got to do for me is I needed to replace this old bad habit with new habits.
Mhm.
And again, that was spending time with family, volunteering at programs, supporting others. Besides a lot of the work I do, a lot of times I meet with individuals that are in the field or new into the field and supporting them as a mentor so that they don't get stagnant or stuck in maybe a position I was in. Because at
Mhm.
the time, it's really hard to find a good role model or someone you could trust or understand, your life. So again, I think for me, being happy is probably the one of the biggest things you could do for yourself, and understanding why you're happy, right? What fulfills you. So when I walk into work every day, what fulfills me is seeing these guys smiling and waiting for opportunities.
Yeah.
What makes me smile is when I'm in the community and I see one of our graduates come up to me and just hug me and tell me what an amazing one, how amazing they're doing, but two, thanking me for the program and for the staff and for everyone that's showing them love. And I think that's one of the things that our programs, what makes our programs so different than others is that I really feel like you feel the love there.
Yeah. You
I don't
do.
know if you can walk into many other programs and feel that type of love. And again, that was a creation that helped me create this milieu for addiction treatment was from my son. So my son Steven, he is a former addict. He struggled with alcoholism for 10 years.
Mm.
Hid it for a while, worked on it. We worked on him. But one of the things that I realized is that you can't give up on it. You can't give up on them because it's that one moment that you give up where they really want it.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that we created at our milieu is that we're never giving up. Like even if they break one of the rules and we have to discharge them, it's never like get out of here. I don't want to see you. It's like, hey, you're not ready for treatment yet. We're gonna be here when you're ready. You
Mhm.
let us know. It's that openness, that love, that compassion, that understanding. Like, and
Yeah.
I think a lot of places lack that because it's for so long, I think a lot of programs and individuals sometimes see people as just a number or someone else
Mm.
versus like, I see you as an individual. I see you as a successful individual and showing that and sharing that and shouting that out. And I think that's the biggest difference for me. That fulfillment comes from that is that showing up to a place that I know that one, it's doing amazing work. I really truly believe it's God's work and
Mm.
I wouldn't be where I am if this wasn't God's plan. I spent so much time going through doors that kept shutting on me. And when I finally allowed myself to have these doors open and go through these doors that were opening for me, this is where I really saw the success and the meaning of that fulfillment. And every day I go to work, that's that fulfillment in life, uh, to support others get better, to get them on track. And so, yeah.
That's awesome. And that's one thing I love about the program is like you were saying, the moment you walk in, you feel the love. And I really believe like a lot of the, that's what these, well, that's what they need most. Of course, the classes are great. The, um, the structure is great, the milieu is great, but it's like the key ingredient is love, because what good is all that without love? So it's I really grateful that the program has that.
And one of the other things too, that, and again, I want to say thank you to Telecare, but it also comes with the management. And so, big shout out to Dr. Jennifer Briscoe, who believed in my vision and continues to believe in my vision. But without a leader like that to kind of support your leadership and your creation, it would be difficult to move forward. So
Yeah,
again, having management that supports your vision and hears you and feels what you're doing and sees what you're doing, is something that continues to make me, to go forward and enjoy this, from all the different things we do. From our holidays to the summers to our outings. You know what I mean? Like, without the support of management and folks like Dr. Jennifer Briscoe, I don't know if I'd still be able to be happy there.
yeah.
But again, it's supported us, and again, it's continued to build. And I feel like every year we're getting better. We keep growing, and we learn more about the program and the needs of the community and the needs of the clients.
That's awesome. That is awesome. And so, if there's a young man out there who may be watching or listening to this, who may feel stuck in complacency, stuck in their addiction, or stuck in the past, who may um, know there's something much more to him than what meets the eye, but feels stuck, what advice would you give them?
And I want to say this not just for our gentlemen, but also for our women, for our ladies as well. Don't be afraid to ask for help. You know what I mean? I didn't get to where I'm at today on my own. I've had people support me. I've asked for help. I've reached out. So again, what I would share is, uh, make sure that you don't get stuck in this place where you feel like no one's there to support you. You can't count on anybody.
Mhm.
Move forward. Believe in yourself. Don't give up on yourself. And that's the thing. I think that a lot of times, we don't have a cast of individuals supporting us, or we don't have a cast of individuals looking at all the good that we've done. I think for a lot of folks, we get stuck in the past. And the past is just that, it's the past. Like, there's no time machine to go backwards.
Mhm.
We should definitely learn from the past, but we shouldn't be stuck in our past.
Yeah.
The future is always there. And the future is like the next day, the future is the next hour, the future is the next minute. We can make those changes and decisions with support. But again, don't ever feel like you're stuck. I really truly believe if you have a vision, if you have a dream, it's there for you to take. But again, don't feel like you have to do it by yourself. I think that's, I think again, that's what a lot of people feel is like, I got to do this on my own, like, or else I'm not successful. It's like, no, I'm successful because I've asked others to help. I'm successful because I didn't just say I could do it on my own. Um, Put that ego down a little bit sometimes, because I
Mhm.
think our egos get in the way of, no, I have to do it on my own or else I'm not successful, or something that someone has said to us in the past, brings us to that place. So one of the things I would just share is this: like, don't feel you're alone. Know that there's people out there that want to help you, support you. And again, if you're following Christ, if you're following God, like, you're never alone.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
always go back to that poem, Footprints. You know what I mean? Like, you're just not alone. You're not.
Mhm.
Know that, and know that someone loves you. And I think that's the thing is, we also got to love ourselves. One of the things that I've noticed, and I don't know if it's generational, or the new age of what's happening, but I feel like we're always comparing ourselves to others, right? Oh, they got this, I need to get this. I got this, I need to get this. We got to look at ourselves and say, what do we really need, right? And again, it shouldn't be the materialistic items, because what I've learned is materialistic items come and go. You know what I mean? In my own addiction, I lost $1 million home.
Uh,
Is it sad? It's sad, but you know what? It wasn't the end of me. You know what I
yeah.
mean? That doesn't make me who I am today. So know that, in the struggles of addiction and the struggles of mental health, people are there to help you. People want to help you, but you also have to be the person to say, you know what, I need the help. Because again, you can't get the help if you don't say anything.
Mhm.
So that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Yeah. Wow, that's true. Definite pearls of wisdom there. My mom, growing up, used to always tell me a closed mouth never gets fed. So
And that's
it's
so true.
yeah,
If you're hungry, let me feed you. You know what
yeah,
I mean? And that's truth. Like, and what I mean by that is I'm here to support you in those different times, in those darknesses. Like, someone really out there is really ready to help. And again, um, don't be afraid to ask for help. That's the biggest thing.
yeah. Amen. That is true. And so finally, if people need a DJ or if they need guidance or help with their substance abuse, how can they get in touch with you?
So for the DJ, you can put it on Instagram. It's at LDJ Boy Wonder. It comes up pretty fast. And then for like anyone that needs like help with addiction or just where to go or anything on mental health or anything, my email, Dr. Michael C. Ybarra. And I don't know if you could post that or I could share that in the chat, but let me just put it in there.
All right.
So that's for me, Mo, for any DJ events, anything. Even if you want to learn, like, hey, you know what? I think I really want to be a DJ. What do you suggest?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, you definitely. And then this is going to be the one for. It's going to be the one for anyone that's really needing help in, with their own addiction or mental health or resources. Um, you definitely have the opportunity to get a hold of me here, so I can support you with that.
All right. Yeah, I'm definitely sure a lot of people, who see this either may need help themselves or maybe they know someone who may need help. So that'd be, great.
Definitely.
That'd be great. Well, thank you again so much for coming on, and I will, in the actual post share your contact information. Dr. Michael Ybarra, it's an honor to call you my friend and brother. Continue to impact lives all over. You are doing a tremendous job, not only here in the Bay Area, but I believe all over. And continue to remember that to the world, you may be one person, but to one person, you may be the world.
I appreciate that. Shout out to our Mirror Right team. I want to say what's up to Ignacio,
Hey,
Danielle, Angela, Robert, uh, Juan, Kimberly, whoever else holds it down for us. Like, I appreciate you. If you're ever wanting to change your field and you want to help, let us know. We're always looking for some great folks that are like minded and ready to change the world.
definitely, definitely. Well, thank you again, guys, everyone, for tuning in. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you've been greatly blessed and empowered and encouraged by this awesome interview with Dr. Michael Ybarra. Thank you, as always, for rocking and rolling with me the seventh season of this podcast. And I thank God for this gift and for the platform and for a spirit of consistency. With any race, it's not about how you started, but how you keep going. So I'm grateful for that and for the lives that it continues to touch. So, y'all be blessed. And as always, this is BDP, Brian David Porter, living in purpose, on purpose, intentionally. Until next time, you guys be blessed.